go. There we go. It's a nicer fish. Get that top water.
How y'all doing, folks? Welcome to this edition of the Outdoors Bound podcast. I'm George Noleff. We've been doing a little fishing lately, so the podcast has sort of been on hiatus. We're back. It's going to be monthly from now on, but we think you're going to like some of the changes we've made. Let's get started with some big news concerning Major League Fishing. That's going to put our region smack in the middle of the world bass fishing spotlight. MLF's bringing its all-star event to Smith Mountain Lake next May. It's going to be big.
Yep. Look at there, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh, a giant.
That is the kind of excitement the MLF hopes to bring to SML next May when it holds the 2025 General Tire Heavy Hitters All-Star event at the lake. The guy in the video is MLF pro David Dudley of Lynchburg.
Oh my God! This might be the biggest bass of my freaking life.
We don't know if Dudley's going to be one of the top 30 pros fishing in the Smith Mountain Lake event. The field won't be set until next year. But we do know the MLF is going to put our region and Smith Mountain Lake in the world bass fishing spotlight.
There will be, millions of eyes will be on Smith Mountain Lake in Franklin County during this week-long event. And so we're also lucky that it's not just, a weekend or a couple days. It's a whole week.
Well, it's going to put the whole region in the national spotlight. Small businesses are really going to be able to benefit.
We're going to see gas sales increase, tackle sales increase, tackle shops, restaurants, motels, Airbnb houses. Everybody's going to benefit from it.
Dwayne Lamb operates Indian Point Marina and Indian Point Bait and Tackle. He says even after the pros leave, thanks to the publicity the tournament generates, the dollars keep coming.
Years after they come, it's going to put SML on the national map, and people's going to come from far and wide to take and come after their chance of catching these new F1 tiger bass. And we're catching fish consistently over 8 pounds now.
Special thanks to Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge for helping out with that story. Those F1s Dwayne Lamb was talking about are having a big impact at Smith Mountain Lake. Based on some early research, almost 30% of all largemouth bass in the lake now weigh in excess of 4 pounds. Dwayne expects some 9 and 10 pounders in the mix during the MLF tournament next spring. We also have an update on the first ever Star City Fishing Expo. It's coming to the Berglund Center in February, and it could provide us the break we need from cabin fever once the winter sets in. In the winter, when you're doing that, you'd probably rather be doing this.
Oh, brother.
Well, now you're going to have the option to do the next best thing. If you can't go fishing, you're going to at least be able to go to a fishing show. The Star City Fishing Expo is going to be held at the Berglund Center next February 7th through the 9th, and it's coming together. More and more vendors are signing up every day.
It's starting to fill up. We've got space for 150 vendors, so if we just continue to add on to what we have, it could be a spectacular event. We've got kayak vendors, we've got clothing vendors, we've got reel vendors, we've got pole vendors, we've got bait and tackle. You name it, it's going to be here.
Jason Lane says ever since Major League Fishing announced it's coming to Smith Mountain Lake next spring, exhibitors have been knocking on his door.
It's given me a boost, and I've started to see a little bit more uptick since that came out with you guys, and I appreciate everybody that's wanting to support me, and I'm trying to support what's coming in the future for Smith Mountain Lake and the surrounding areas. We've got a 53-foot bass tank that's coming, so you get to see some of the pros demonstrate some of their lures and stuff that they have, and we'll have a trout fishing pond for the kids to catch and release.
Something else cool, no more long drives to get to a winter fishing show. If you wanted to get to a similar show in the past few years, you had to drive all the way to Richmond or Greensboro. And let me plant this idea. You could make it a fishing and football weekend. The expo is going to be held the same weekend as the Super Bowl, so go to the show, then watch the Super Bowl on WFXR TV. Sounds like a winner. We all love catching largemouth bass. They're the most popular game fish in North America. So, when a Bassmaster angler asks you if you want to go fishing, the answer is yes. I got the chance to do that over on Sandy River Reservoir with Bassmaster Kayak Series Pro Casey Reed.
We're out here offshore fishing for some largemouth bass.
When a pro bass angler says, let's go fishing, you go fishing.
This is my buddy right over here. I need to go talk to him.
Casey Reed fishes on the Bassmaster Kayak circuit. Kayak bassing's really taken off in the past decade.
We just caught a few, had a few bites right here, so yeah, it's been a good day.
No matter what you're fishing from, the concept's the same. Find the fish. That's where a pro's knowledge comes into play. While the rest of us are pounding the bank, guys like Casey, well, they're using their heads and their electronics.
So I have Humminbird Mega Live. I know there's a school of fish over here, so I'm gonna try to set up on them, position in the wind, spot lock on them, and see if we can't catch some of them.
Didn't take long for his knowledge to translate into bass.
There we go. Good start to the day.
Yeah. How'd you catch that one there?
So caught this one on my go-to, the old shaky head, green pumpkin, the 3/16 ounce weight. This thing will catch fish anywhere you go.
When a pro shows you how it's done, you'd be a fool not to put that knowledge into action. And my mama didn't raise no fool, at least not when it comes to fishing.
It's not as big. It's about the same size as the last one. Self-release.
Now, when it comes to bass fishing, what separates the pros from the rest of us? Well, probably their knowledge. They apply science. They know a thing or two about bass biology and behavior. Case in point, while a lot of us would be pounding shoreline structure at Sandy River, guys like Casey are tracking fish migrations, working mid-lake humps where those fish move to in the middle of the day. That's just one example. Casey fishes out of a kayak, and kayak fishing is booming. It's a hot trend. I talked with Casey about outfitting a kayak for fishing. His name is Casey Reed, and he's from Lynchburg. And he's one of the top anglers on the Bassmaster Kayak Series Trail.
Hey y'all, it's a beautiful morning here at Lake Hartwell. It's the stop 2 of the Bassmaster Kayak Series. I started fishing kayak tournaments about 9-10 years ago.
Kayak fishing's exploded in popularity in recent years. They cost less than a boat, give you access to places you might not otherwise be able to reach. And a lot of folks want to get into it but don't know how to get set up. Good thing we have a kayak fishing expert like Casey Reed close by.
This is the Old Town Sportsman Autopilot 136. So you need to get online, and there's a lot of owners groups. So like there's the Old Town owners group, and you can get in there and kind of just see what people are doing with their kayaks. You can get an idea. You may not know what you want out of a kayak, but you'll see how these people are using their different kayaks. You can start in a kayak that's under $1,000 and still have a really good kayak.
Reed fishes out of an Old Town kayak. That's a top-of-the-line American-made paddlecraft. Even one decked out like Reed has is still a fraction of the cost of a boat. In addition to your fishing gear, you're going to need a seat, rod holders.
I have my Yak Attack crates here. They have all the rod holders on them, as you can see.
And some way to propel the kayak, a paddle, pedals, or in Reed's case, a trolling motor, and you're in business.
You have your rudder deployment right here, which the rudder's in the back, and you can use the feet pedal to steer it.
Plus, kayaks are easy to transport.
The kayak is big as mine and as heavy as it is with all the gear that I have in it, a trailer's definitely the way to go. But yeah, you can throw it in the back of the truck, throw it on top of a roof on your 4-door sedan. You can really haul these things any way you want.
There's a whole lot to like about kayak fishing.
It is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and you can really do as much as you want with these kayaks. Like, I have mine completely rigged. I'm a tournament angler. I travel across the country, but you don't have to do all of this. You can be as minimal as you want or as excessive as you want.
The best way to improve your fishing skills is time on the water. Fishing kayaks are a cost-effective way to do that. Even the top-of-the-line, decked-out models Casey and I were fishing from are still just a fraction of the cost of a boat. Just something to think about to expand your knowledge and your catch rate. Most of all, fun on the water. I like to get up to Lake Moomaw for the fishing. You ever been up there? It's beautiful. There's great bass, perch, chain pickerel, trout fishing in Moomaw, and now you can add another game fish species to the list, walleye. There's been a bunch of reports of walleye being caught recently, most in the 10 to 12 inch range, nothing huge. When you all told me about it, I was kind of skeptical, but I checked with the VDWR, and what they told me was, hey, walleyes were stocked there about 18 months ago. They are not of harvestable size yet. They have to be 18 inches long for that. The rate of growth on Moomaw has been fantastic, though, so we could see some make it to that size by next year. DWR wants to see how walleye do in the lake before making any future decisions on stocking it, but if these recent catches are any indication, so far, so good. Now, whether it is walleye, bass, trout, stripers, catfish, we got some pretty good fishing here in Virginia, and you can add another voracious predator to the list, an invader from Asia. Snakeheads were illegally introduced 2 decades ago. Now they're being managed as a game fish. They hit like a bass, fight like a muskie, taste like a walleye, and outside of Southeast Asia, Virginia may be the best place in the world to catch them.
Oh, that was one that rolled up right there.
Chasing snakeheads is a lot like stalking big game.
See movement way up there by the grass?
Right.
That's snakes.
You look for the signs, swirls on the water, bait fish, balls of baby snakeheads, because mama and daddy won't be too far away.
Babies, they have to breathe air every second. So when they come up, it's just a continuous, looks like somebody standing there with BBs and just dropping BBs in the water.
And then you move in all stealthy-like and start casting.
Yeah, we're gonna sneak up here.
When they hit, it's explosive.
Oh, see that?
Let's slow that down and see that again. That's a display of sheer power.
Oh, they're a blast. When you could see that fish boil in the water and you throw your frog over to it, give it a couple little pops, and he just jumps right on top of it, you know? And it's just nothing but pure power from the time that hook set is there.
Look, if you look down, look in the grass.
That's Mike Salicki of Apex Predators Guide Service with a big snakehead on the other end of the line. Salicki's one of the top snakehead guides in Virginia. He brings that fish, covered in weeds from where it tried to make an escape, into the net.
I always go behind and then turn the net up.
These fish have a non-stop motor, and that one is angry.
When it explodes, you'll never catch a fish better than this in such shallow water.
The 2 sets of teeth, one like bass teeth, one like sea trout teeth. Then on the inside, you can see those molars. Critters, plastic critters. Yeah, and just run them across the surface.
Salicki fishes for snakeheads almost year-round. His home water's Potomac Creek, just off the Potomac River east of Fredericksburg. It's weedy and shallow. Filled with forage, it's prime snakehead water. Throwing top water and shallow running baits is the way to go. The weeds provide ambush cover.
I recommend that. They look up. You know, the angle of their head, they look up.
And when they hit, there is no mistake that fish has murder on its mind.
It sucked that frog right in off that pod, didn't it? They're an ambush fish. They like to be hidden so they can swallow bait.
Murder on its mind. Those fish just explode on topwater baits. You can catch them pretty good into the fall. Let me tell you, folks, eating them is an experience. Very mild, flaky fillets of fry up just right. Speaking of eating, most of us probably don't give it a lot of thought, but there are folks in our area who, for whatever reason, are having a hard time putting a meal in their belly. Every now and then, we all need a little help. Thanks to Hunters for the Hungry, outdoorsmen and outdoors women are providing some of that help by donating deer they harvest. Recently, Hunters for the Hungry canned some of that venison in the form of stew to make that meat stretch a little further and to help more families. That is the sound of love. So's that. And so is that. And it all starts with this.
I love it. That's why we're here.
So what is this labor of love? Well, it's turning deer donated by hunters into meals for families who need a little help.
To see these people that just have a passion for taking care of helping other people and all the efforts they put into it is just phenomenal. And we know that ultimately we're going to give somebody that's struggling with hunger or facing food insecurity an entire meal in a can.
Those bay leaves are in that one.
The bay leaves are in there.
Gary Arrington leads Hunters for the Hungry, or H4H, in the Blue Ridge region.
The biggest thing we tell people, we need deer, we need dollars.
And it's his good work with the help of government and other groups that turns those deer and dollars into a bridge out of poverty for families.
Yes, sir. It's a blessing to be partnered with this group.
That's the intent, really, is to feed the families, take care of the people in Bedford County with resources from Bedford County.
What do you think we got here, roughly? Out of your 12, we had 12 or 1,300 when we started.
You probably got 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds?
Usually H4H collects deer from hunters and has them processed and then sends the meat to food pantries. But this time, something different. Love in a can.
And then we put the cap on it, and Logan is over here capping them.
Donated deer are being turned into cans of venison stew. Families fighting their way out of poverty have kids to take care of and jobs to work. Having dinner that can just be heated up and served, well, that can be a blessing of food and precious time.
All the people have to do is open the can and heat it up instead of having to spend a lot of time preparing, which someone may or may not be able to do.
So for 2 days, volunteers chopped and ladled and canned, thanks to the Bedford County Cooperative Extension Service and the New London Cannery.
Broth?
2 scoops of stew and then topping it off with the broth.
And this is a critical point of the stew processing.
And they turned all of that into
About 1,100 cans, yep. Somewhere around there. That's just phenomenal.
1,100 meals for hungry families in need, 1,100 cans of love.
This all started with a conversation between myself and Gary about venison and the ability to can it.
One of the hardest things that feeding programs tell us that they need, it's essential for small children, for brain development, for the elderly to maintain healthy bone structures, is high protein, low fat red meat. And so this is a God-given, renewable, natural resource that provides that without any additives.
Wow, 1,100 meals, that is some good work right there, folks. Want to donate a deer or money to Hunters for the Hungry? I put a link to their website on the Outdoors Bound page of our website, WFXRTV.com. Speaking of deer, whitetail season is going to be upon us in no time. There are things we all could be doing right now, though, to up our chances of success once the season gets here. Now, I checked with the folks at North American Whitetail about some ways to prep during the summer. Here are 5 things to do now. 1, sight in your bow or rifle. Give yourself plenty of time to fine-tune your bow or gun and check your gear. 2, get to know local farmers for 3 reasons. Most important, you can never have too many friends, and farmers see a lot of deer in their day-to-day activities, so they have a pretty good idea what deer are doing. And finally, to ask permission to hunt their land. They get hammered with requests once the season starts, so ask now. 3, get out and scout. Walk the areas where you plan to hunt. Look for forage like acorns, water sources, and game trails. 4, pattern the does. Their travel patterns usually stay the same through the year. If you know where the does are, you're going to be in a good spot to intercept a buck once the rut starts. And 5, clear some travel paths. Brush and overgrowth can present problems getting into an area quickly and quietly. Clear it now, keep it maintained, and have a number of routes in and out depending on changing wind conditions. Sometimes you just gotta get away to some peace and quiet, and if smallmouth bass somehow make it into the mix, well, that'd be okay too. We know of such a place. One of the first things you notice about the Upper New River, where it snakes along the Virginia and North Carolina borders, is that it's quiet. Just you and the sound of water. But that quiet does not last long.
It's a good fish, George.
The Upper New is one of the top smallmouth bass fisheries anywhere. They are there in numbers and in size.
That's a long fish there.
Chase Bowman of New River Charter makes his living guiding on this stretch.
A lot of big fish in this stretch. Don't let the water depth fool you. We've seen 45-inch muskie this morning. We've seen all kind of 18-plus inch smallmouth.
You know, another great thing about fishing the Upper New is you can actually get out of the raft and do a little wade fishing.
It's a nice fish. fun to catch.
Now, this is small water, narrow, remote, accessible by float raft. When you float this section of the New, you're floating and fishing one of the last really wild rivers in Virginia.
You're not going to run into any people. You're not going to run into jet boats. We've seen one kayak today, and you're just off the beaten path. It's you and nature out here.
While the upper New is small water, narrow and pretty shallow, between Mouth of Wilson and Galax, we also saw a lot of muskies. So if you fish that stretch, bring along the heavy gear too, just in case. I got one, you got one, everybody's got a fish story, so we decided we'd like to share some. If you have one you'd like to tell, well, get in touch with me. This week, we talked with WFXR Good Day Virginia meteorologist Kara Thompson about one of her favorite fishing memories.
Well, I will say that I might not be the best fisherwoman out there. I don't necessarily have the arm strength, but one time while I was along the Rappahannock River near the Dunsville area, I casted my line out, kind of just sat there on the beach, and finally got a bite, and I was trying to reel this bad boy in. It took a while. Once again, remember, I don't have the best upper arm strength, but I finally got this nice sized puppy drum out of the water, and I was pretty proud of myself. I thought it looked like a pretty good fish.
Did you celebrate a little?
I guess I did a little dance and, took a few pictures here and there, but I ultimately, tossed him back, took him back where he, comes from and such.
Thanks, Kara. If you'd like to share your fish story with us, go to the Meet the Team page on WFXRTV.com. Click on my page. You're going to find my email there. Hit me up. Looking to buy some new trail cams? Outdoor Live's out with its annual rankings. Topping the list overall is the Tacticam Reveal X Pro 3.0. Best for fields, the StealthCam Revolver 360. High performance, the StealthCam Deceptor Max. And best budget cam, the SpyPoint Flex G36. Did you know that Virginia's portion of the Chesapeake Bay is one of the top places to target a migratory predator? We're talking cobia. And from June to September, Virginia may be the best place to go after them.
Here we go, hooked up.
Before you can get to that, the equivalent of a torpedo in fish form, you have to go through a bit of this.
Another non-biter. Behind it and didn't bite it. He bit the eel, but he was a little small.
The target species is cobia, a top-line predator, and maybe the best place to catch them in the summer is Virginia's lower Chesapeake Bay. Fishing for them? Well, it's a lot like stalking big game.
You're looking for, life, you're fishing edges of contours and stuff like that. These fish are very nomadic, much like, the reds as well in the summertime. So there's a lot of movement and trial and error, and you're just process of elimination as your day goes on. You're sliding around trying to find them.
I saw him chase it though.
Oh yeah, he was hawking it.
Captain Tyler Nunn is a fishing guide with Tidewater Charters out of Cape Charles. He spends hours on the water, up high in the tower of his boat, scoping out the horizon.
Yes, sir. We're looking for cobia.
That's because cobia often come to the surface, and when they do, if you can get a bait in front of them, like a live eel, well, it can be game on.
Oh, there's one right there. Cobia fishing is a lot of fun. You can catch them in a variety of ways, and they're a great sport fish.
Come on! Oh, he ain't happy.
Cobia are going to stay in Virginia waters for a few more months, so you still have a chance to get in on this action. One other thing, they are delicious, but on this day, we were catching but not keeping. It's all part of conserving the resource while enjoying the experience.
Whoop, there he goes. They're definitely good to eat, that's undeniable, but they're worth a lot more in the water than they are, in a cooler.
Good point there from Captain Tyler Nunn. Cobia fishing in Virginia is world class, so preserving the resource, only keeping a few every now and then, helps to maintain the fishery and the jobs and the business that revolve around it. Closer to home, the striped bass fishery at Smith Mountain Lake is an economic driver. It's some of the best inland striper fishing anywhere, and DWR fisheries managers want to keep it that way. That's why a tool used in submarine warfare is being put to use at Smith Mountain Lake, but instead of tracking enemy subs, sonar is being used to track fish. Did you hear that? That ping? That is a striped bass finning around beneath the waves at Smith Mountain Lake.
I think that, and you can be sitting in between 14 and 14 and a half.
And the guys tracking them are Nathan Smith and Riley Phelps. They're grad students from Coastal Carolina University working with the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources on a catch and release mortality study at Smith Mountain Lake. The study involves catching stripers, tagging them with a radio transmitter, letting them go, and then tracking them to see how many live after being released.
So we're going to be tracking our tagged fish for the striped bass catch and release mortality project that we're working on. And so what we have right here, this is a towable omnidirectional hydrophone.
You can hear kind of loud beeping pings, and it gets louder the closer you get to it.
The tags emit an ultrasonic ping, which is just a really loud beep. But they're at specific frequencies, so with basically Morse code within the beeps that help us identify them.
So why is catch and release mortality important to know? Well, right now, if you catch striped bass at Smith Mountain Lake between June and October, up to 2 a day, you're supposed to keep them, regardless of size. Now, that's based on research in other places that shows because of physiology, stripers released into warm summer water don't have a great survival rate.
84.7, 83.6.
We've been seeing it hanging out not too far over there, so I'm curious to see where he ended up, if he's moved much at all.
But those studies were done on shallow bowl-shaped lakes in the south and west. Smith Mountain Lake's different. It's V-shaped and deep with lots of oxygen at just the right water temperature, and that could mean a big difference in survivability.
The biggest issue for inland striped bass is when they're landlocked, they don't have anywhere to go to seek thermal refuge. Whenever the temperature gets too hot for them, they're fairly cold to temperate acclimated species, so they don't really like temperatures higher than 78 or so.
Definitely close.
It's not quite on them just yet.
I think it's on, just in front of us, but I'm getting a ping when it's 360.
We won't know until the research is done if catch and release striper survivability is any better at Smith Mountain Lake, but if it is, it could mean different harvest regulations at the lake and different management practices, and that could help the striped bass population thrive. In addition to survival rates, researchers are also learning a thing or two about striper movement at Smith Mountain Lake. Final results of the mortality study should be available sometime early next year. There's something special I wanted to let you know about in Daleville, and it could help kids develop a love of the outdoors. It's the Cherry Blossom Track Trail. Sometimes you gotta beat feet to have a little fun. Want to have even more fun? Add some of nature's beauty and some interactive things to do as a family. That's the idea behind something new in Botetourt County.
The big thing behind this trail is to urge families to get outside and play.
That's Botetourt County Communications Director Tiffany Bradbury talking about the new Kids in Parks Track Trail. It's a joint project with Kids in Parks and the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation set up on the Cherry Blossom Trail in Daleville. It's family friendly.
Like this one is Nature's Hide and Seek, and then we have a few other things like types of trees, different bugs you can find, pond life, because if you follow the Cherry Blossom Trail down, it's about a 2-mile trail. There's a cute little pond over there. We've got all sorts of flora and fauna out here, and that way the families can actually open this up and do all sorts of interactive type things with it, which is really, really exciting, and then they can actually track their adventure.
Those are activities that can help kids develop a lifelong passion for the outdoors.
But it's just a really great way to get our kids away from the screens, to get the families out here to be able to do some interactive stuff, get some little exercise in.
So it's learning and it's fun, and along the way there's going to be cool plants and fish and bugs to learn about, and even some wildlife to see. Best of all, No controller or joystick needed. Now, families can use brochures found in a display at the trailhead, or they can scan a QR code for activities. Research has found that kids who spend more time in nature, and specifically in nature exploration, like what happens up on that track trail, well, they have more positive behavior and mood. They also learn better. They do better in school, plus they have less anger and aggression and have better impulse control. Wildlife managers have a variety of tools they can use to help a resource thrive. But did you ever think hot grease was one of them? Think of this as a way to control biomass, but delicious.
It's yummy.
And if you do more of this...
This is really good. It don't have a strong fish taste. Tastes of seasoning, everything. Really good.
You can catch more of these.
It's a little 25-pound blue to get the day started.
We're talking about trophy blue catfish. They're in most of Virginia's Chesapeake Bay tributaries, and the trophy fishery spawned a charter industry that accounts for hundreds of millions of dollars in economic impact. Now here's the catch. When Virginia wildlife managers stocked blue cats decades ago, they thought they'd stay confined to the tidal James. They didn't.
You're okay. You're okay. Come down with the rod.
And while they created a world-class charter fishing industry that benefits towns along the river, their population exploded, affecting other species. Now, Virginia fisheries biologists have to balance preservation of the trophy fishery with controlling the numbers of smaller blue cats to mitigate their impact. One way to do that, catch them and cook them.
Bring him up.
Hey, we got a blue cat!
So increasing recreational harvest is really important to getting those numbers down and reducing those negative effects on our native and commercially important fish.
So, successful blue catfish catch here. We're gonna head up and fillet these fish as part of our workshop today.
To get the word out on catching and eating smaller blue cats, the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources held a catch and cook clinic on the Chickahominy River. Did you get hit there?
You get a hit. Then let go. We're out at the Chickahominy waterfront here, fishing on the new pier, trying to catch some blue catfish.
How'd you catch that fish?
She caught it on a Carolina rig on a piece of cut bait.
The event featured a clinic on how to catch blue cats, how to clean them, and how to cook them.
That batter is seasoned.
One of the experts on hand was Patricia Clement. You might know her as social media influencer and content creator, The River Sister. She loves catching and cooking blue cats.
Mustard and egg in these hands. And then you get you some peanut oil.
And they're really good eating. I like to fry them up or batter them up, fry them up, make fish tacos. They're really good blackened.
The best eating size blue cats are the ones between 1 to 10 pounds. Now, some of the best places to target blue cats in Virginia are the tidal James, the Chickahominy, and the Rappahannock rivers. You hear that? You know what that is? It's this month's Sound of Solitude, a kayak ride on Sandy River Reservoir. All right, folks, this is where I leave you. Until next month's podcast, I'm George Noleff, WFXR News, Outdoors Bound. Tight lines and good hunting, y'all.
You build the mountains in your dreams. You lead the world so you can breathe. Whoa. You walk on fields inside your mind. You cross the oceans and the skies. Whoa. It's like you found a better way. Don't fight them all on what they say. Just turn around and walk away. But if you leave again, just take me